The conquest of Mecca by Prophet Muhammad in 630 CE marked a pivotal moment in the history of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. It was a culmination of years of struggle, negotiations, and significant events that ultimately led to the triumph of the Islamic faith in the heart of Arabia. This historical episode not only shaped the future of Islam but also transformed Mecca into the holiest city for Muslims worldwide. To understand the conquest of Mecca, it is essential to delve into the socio-political and religious context of the Arabian Peninsula during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad. In the early 7th century, the Arabian Peninsula was characterized by a diverse set of tribes, each with its own customs, traditions, and religious beliefs. The city of Mecca, situated in the region of Hijaz, was a bustling commercial center and a hub for various tribal activities. Mecca was home to the Kaaba, a sacred structure believed to have been built by the prophet Abraham, and his son Ishmael. The Kaaba served as a focal point for religious pilgrimage and was revered by the pagan Arabs as a center of polytheistic worship. Despite the religious significance of Mecca, the city was also a site of social and economic disparities, leading to internal conflicts among its inhabitants. Prophet Muhammad, born in Mecca in 570 CE, received revelations from Allah, God, through the angel Gabriel, which later became the Quran. The message was monotheistic, emphasizing the worship of one God and rejecting the multitude of deities worshipped by the Meccans. As Muhammad began preaching this message openly, he faced strong opposition from the Quraysh, the dominant tribe in Mecca and the custodians of the Kaaba. The early years of Muhammad's prophethood were marked by persecution, economic boycotts, and social ostracism against him and his followers. In 620 CE, Muhammad experienced the Isra and Miraj, a miraculous night journey to Jerusalem and ascension to the heavens, which further solidified his spiritual authority. As the persecution continued, Muhammad and his followers migrated to Yathrib, later known as Medina, in 622 CE, an event known as the Hijra. In Medina, Muhammad established a polity that united the various tribes, including both Muslims and non-Muslims, under a constitution known as the Constitution of Medina. This marked the beginning of a new phase in the development of the Islamic community, or Ummah. Over the next few years, a series of battles, known as the Battle of Badr 624 CE, the Battle of Uhud 625 CE, and the Battle of the Trench 627 CE, took place between the Muslims and the Quraysh. The Treaty of Hudaybiyyah, signed in 628 CE between the Muslims and the Quraysh, allowed for a temporary truce and established a period of peace. This treaty proved crucial in creating a conducive environment for the spread of Islam and facilitated peaceful interactions between the Muslims and the Meccans. One of the stipulations of the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah was that Muhammad and his followers would not perform the pilgrimage to Mecca that year, but could return the following year. In 629 CE, the Muslims, with the intention of performing the pilgrimage, set out towards Mecca. However, the Quraysh, violating the terms of the treaty, prevented them from entering the city. The stage was set for a turning point in the struggle between the Muslims and the Quraysh. In 630 CE, Muhammad received intelligence that the Quraysh had violated the treaty again by supporting an attack on one of the allied tribes of the Muslims. The Prophet decided to march towards Mecca with a large force of Muslims, seeking to redress the grievances and restore justice. The conquest of Mecca began with a series of strategic maneuvers and negotiations. Muhammad, with his well-disciplined army, aimed to avoid bloodshed and encourage a peaceful surrender of Mecca. The Meccans, realizing the futility of resistance, decided to surrender without engaging in a full-scale battle. The city that had once rejected and persecuted the Prophet was now at his mercy. One of the defining moments of the conquest of Mecca was the peaceful entry of Muhammad into the city. The Prophet, accompanied by thousands of his followers, entered Mecca without any bloodshed. The people of Mecca, witnessing the humility and magnanimity of Muhammad, were deeply moved. The Prophet, rather than seeking revenge, forgave even those who had committed grave atrocities against him in the early Muslim community. The conquest of Mecca marked the end of idolatry and the establishment of monotheism in the heart of Arabia. The Prophet, after entering the city, proceeded to cleanse the Kaaba of its idols and reaffirm its status as a center of monotheistic worship. The restoration of the Kaaba to its original purpose symbolized the purification of the Arabian Peninsula from polytheism and the triumph of Islam. The conquest of Mecca also showcased the mercy and forgiveness of Prophet Muhammad. Despite years of persecution and animosity, he chose a path of reconciliation and forgiveness. Many Meccans, who had vehemently opposed Islam, embraced the faith upon witnessing the character and conduct of the Prophet. This event exemplified the Islamic principles of compassion, justice, and forgiveness, which continue to be emphasized in the teachings of Islam. The conquest of Mecca had profound implications for the future of Islam. It solidified the authority of Prophet Muhammad and the message of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. The city that had once been a stronghold of polytheism and opposition to Islam now became a symbol of monotheism and the central pilgrimage site for Muslims worldwide. The transformation of Mecca into the holiest city of Islam had a lasting impact on the Muslim community. The Kaaba, cleansed of its idols and rededicated to the worship of the one true God, became the focal point of the annual pilgrimage, known as Hajj. Muslims from around the world undertake the pilgrimage to Mecca as one of the 5 pillars of Islam, reinforcing the unity of the global Muslim community. The conquest of Mecca also facilitated the spread of Islam throughout the Arabian Peninsula. With the removal of tribal and religious barriers, many tribes and communities embraced Islam willingly. The peaceful coexistence established by the Prophet in Medina became a model for the governance of diverse communities under Islamic principles. The events leading to the conquest of Mecca and its aftermath are documented in Islamic historical sources, including the Quran and Hadiths, sayings and actions of the Prophet. These sources provide insights into the motivations, strategies, and ethical considerations that guided Prophet Muhammad during this critical period. The conquest of Mecca is considered a paradigmatic example of the ethical conduct expected of Muslim leaders and individuals in times of victory. In conclusion, the conquest of Mecca by Prophet Muhammad in 630 CE was a transformative event that shaped the course of Islamic history. It marked the end of years of persecution, the triumph of monotheism over polytheism, and the establishment of Mecca as the holiest city for Muslims. It demonstrated the mercy and forgiveness of the Prophet, laying the foundation for the principles of justice, compassion, and reconciliation in Islam. Today, the annual pilgrimage to Mecca stands as a testament to the enduring significance of this historic event in the hearts and minds of Muslims worldwide.